Marcia Hogan of the Williamsburg Historical Society. All right, and we're sitting in the old pharmacy that has been around for over 150 years. Did I get the...
That's about right, yeah,
All right.
1874.
Okay, so now it's obviously part of the museum. There's the old hospital upstairs. Tell us about how all of it got started.
Well, how did this get started? The drugstore was sold. It was a working drugstore, and it was sold. And the person that bought it, I think he was looking to get out. And we had always had an interest in this because it's just the way it was the day it was built.
Yeah, that's true.
And it had all the old fixtures and stuff in it. So we purchased the building with all the contents, and then we worked on bringing it back to the way it was when it was first built. It had been modernized a little, and we changed it back to the way it originally was.
And so you can't really tell it was modernized. Maybe the lights, but even the light fixtures look old, so it's...
We had pulled the drugs, the counter, all that whole wall out, and the pharmacist worked actually behind it.
Okay.
And that was kind of a modern thing. That's not the way it was, so not much was done.
I'm here with Mary. She's going to show me her very favorite thing in the museum, which I'm sure is hard to pick.
It is hard to pick, but this is one thing I do really like. It's an old cigar box, and it's got Williamsburg on it. It's a Fletcher Special.
That is fantastic. Where's the cigar, though? Are we going to light one up?
I think they're all gone.
Oh, bummer.
The guy used to smoke the cigars.
Probably in here, right?
Probably,
They all
yes.
were smoking in
We
here.
have a great picture of him with a big cigar hanging out of
There's
his
a big
mouth.
cigar right here. I see.
Yeah, this is it. This is one of them. Right here. He's hanging right out of his mouth.
Very good. Very good. Well, you kind of look like that if we had one.
Yeah,
but-
we could.
So what made this so important to be preserved the way it is?
And Marcia can add to this, I just think it's such an important part of the town, and it was well preserved, and it had all the the original pieces of equipment that came with it. We just thought it was a necessary part to be preserved for the whole town and the county.
The fact that it was continuous since 1874 and really, researching the old papers and stuff, all businesses moved around all the time, but this one didn't have. This one was always the same.
That's crazy to think that it lasted so long in the same place. I mean, even banks move, and you have vaults in all these old buildings, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. It was, the third floor was added on in 1926, and or finished in 1926. I think it started in 25.
Right.
And it wasn't salvageable.
But then there were patient rooms and operating room up on the third floor.
So, tell me about these stairs, Mary.
This is the stairs to the third floor of this hospital. We had to take it off because it wasn't structurally sound, but we kept it, and we kept the stairs because if you were going to have your baby, you had to get to the top of these stairs. And so many people could tell us, so many women could tell us how many steps it was to get to the top before they had their baby.
I can't
So we
even
just-
imagine.
We just had to keep it.
I can't even imagine. I really can't.
I can't imagine either.
I'm not taking the walk.
So was this the last piece of it that became part of the Historical Society, or was the hospital piece the last part that got sort of purchased and incorporated?
It was all together.
Oh, okay.
It was all the same process.
Okay. And so the person who owned this building also owned where the old hospital was upstairs. And tell us a little bit about the hospital and what you envision there and how that going.
Well, I was never in it as a kid, and so I didn't really have a good vision.
Had my tonsils out.
But I had the other people that we work with have all said, "Oh, this is the way it was," and that was we used their vision to put it together.
Yeah, I used to go to the dentist up there. He didn't use Novocaine. Yeah, I remember that. And the third floor, I remember having my tonsils out, and stuff. Half the town was born here somewhere. I mean,
We hear that a lot. I was born up here.
yeah, well, a lot of people.
Well, and that's going to get less and less because the hospital closed in what, 1957? Is that what you were saying?
58.
Was it 58? Okay.
Yeah, and we found in the paper there was one one notice of a person that was, a baby that was born here in 1959, but we believed it must have been an emergency.
Oh,
That's the only thing we can figure out.
I didn't
because
see it.
Yeah,
because it was already.
it was already closed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the hospital part was closed. Did doctors and the dentist and everything still operate out of upstairs? Or
No, they were, well, Dr. Miller built an office
Clinic, yeah.
down,
Oh, okay.
down the street. And that's where he moved to. I think that opened in 1960. I remember right, reading that. But, and there was a dentist in there then, so that's where he moved. And he worked, you know, he went to Marengo to the hospital, and he had patients in Cedar Rapids as well.
okay, so obviously something like the hospital has a lot of meaning to some people that were born there or they had stuff done there and
Yeah.
whatnot. So is there a concern that once sort of that generation's gone, that there'll be less of an interest in places like the old hospital and some of the stuff that's in these buildings?
I don't think so, Mary.
I don't think so either. I mean, I find that, like we've been open to had some open to the public kind of things, and there were so many younger people and so many kids that kept coming back.
Mm-hmm.
They keep coming back every time we're open to the public because they want to see one more thing they missed.
Yeah.
And I that thrills me that it's young kids, junior high kids and stuff that want to
Yes.
go back and see how it really was.
That's awesome. So what type of things do you do aside from being open to the public? Like you're open to the public, what, Monday through Friday?
Mm-hmm.
So what else do you do to bring people in or have them experience this? Because you know a lot of people work, Monday through Friday. So how do you get people in since you're not open on weekends?
Well, the pandemic kind of threw a wrench into everything. It really
Good point.
did.
It really did, because that was about the same time this whole thing was.
Yeah, and so we were closed pretty much and haven't scheduled things like speakers and things like that quite yet. We're getting a list of them, but
Yes,
That's the
we
sort
want to
of
have some
thing.
presentations and things
Yeah.
like that. And
that's the sort of thing
the
that
school classes like to come for visits.
Okay.
So like the 4-H groups want to come for visits. We've had town, civic organizations that likes to have, a little tour or have a meeting here or something.
Yeah.
We do that kind of thing. The Chamber of Commerce has a night on the square, and we're definitely always open for that evening.
A lot
when
of
we get
traffic.
And 4th of July, before the town parade,
Okay.
we're open. We kind of work in conjunction with the city,
Mhm.
and
Well, I noticed, in a lot of smaller towns that their museums are open by appointment only, or they have like 1 weekend a month where they're open for a couple hours. You guys are open a number of hours. So how do you manage to, get volunteers to staff all that? And what's your secret to doing something like that in a town this size?
And some people come in and they say, "Oh, I'd love to do this," and they do, and they come back.
we're lucky. We have people that want to help us.
And are most of them Williamsburg natives? Like there's a connection to it where someone like me wouldn't have that connection? Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And is that continuing, like, you're saying young kids come in, they're excited. Does that trickle into the same with like volunteers and stuff too? They're getting younger and wanting to be part of it as well, and the historical
They're
part?
younger than I am, but that doesn't mean it's,
Oh, we hope so. Let's put it that way.
yeah.
What can I get for you, Derek?
What do you got?
Well, we have lots of yummy things, but I really think you need some of the nation's beverage.
Which is what? Moonshine?
Cheers, Smash.
I'll have root beer.
Oh.
So what are some changes on the horizon for this museum? Like, what do you see in the next, say, 5 years that are really going to change the experience that people had it before that they'll want to come back again?
Start mixing up our own prescriptions again? Don't think so.
I'm not sure. I mean, we're kind of just happy what we got here right now.
Yeah.
And, it hasn't been open that long, so we're kind of.
It's true. This one is just most
About
recent.
the 4th of July was the
Yeah.
first weekend we were open.
Oh,
Not
okay, so
even-
relatively
So
recent.
we haven't really
Yeah.
worked on.
Still
It's still pretty
accumulating
new.
things too.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the hospital side?
Same thing, isn't it?
Same
Yeah.
thing. Absolutely same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you notice it was pretty sparse up there, but there's still more stuff.
Yeah, we're hoping to keep adding to
That's great.
the whole collection.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
That'd be our probably 5-year plan.
How can people find you? Do you have an online presence? Like, how can they find where?
We have a Facebook page.
Okay, and is it,
The
what is it?
Williamsburg Iowa Historical Society.
Williamsburg Iowa Historical Society. Okay.
That's probably our main. I think we're listed. I think if you do, we're under the City of Williamsburg, under the Chamber page.
Okay.
That's another spot to pick us up at.
And people call here thinking it's Williamsburg, Virginia, right? So we've had at least 2 of those. Say, nah, I don't think so.
Okay, but so that's an easy way to reach you online, or they can always call, I assume,
Oh,
during
yeah.
normal
Absolutely,
hours.
absolutely.
Okay.
We'll leave a message and we'll get back to them.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to show it off.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful, and I mean, it's fantastic what's been done here, and that there's more to go. And so, like I said, a lot of towns don't have it, or if they do, like, it's not as well categorized. Like, they have a pharmacy table or whatever, and everything's sort of shoved on it. But I mean, this is fantastic. This is huge.
Bottles upon bottles.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And corn plasters and bunion plasters. Yeah. That's what I'm like.
Yeah, the soda fountain and everything. The windows and the tin ceiling, it's been just immaculately restored. So it's quite the feather in your cap to have something like this to showcase the history.
Absolutely.
It is. Yeah.
So,
We're lucky. We're very lucky.
so what'd you think?
I loved it. I mean, that's why I wanted us to come here. This is my husband's hometown. I love what they have done with this space.
This is amazing. I mean, it looks like it's right out of an old picture or an ad from like the 1920s. You got your soda fountain, you've got everything under the sun, they've got gizzard capsules, all kinds of things.
And it's all legit, real what they had in the pharmacy 100 years ago.
It's like somebody locked the door, left, and they bought it 50, 60 years later and said, okay, let's
Let's just put it in a museum.
let's just open it as a museum. And like, who cares what else is here?
Right. And, yeah. And the next door, there's all sorts of stuff right next door too that's not pharmacy related. It's got everything else that's going on in Williamsburg.
And then the hospital upstairs, which is fantastic because you think about small towns and how people were born here and raised here, lived and died. That used to be the way small towns stayed vibrant.
Can you imagine going to the doctor on a second floor now?
No, I mean without an elevator or without.
Going to the third floor to give birth?
Well, and in one of the rooms they had the old gurney that they would have to have carried you up those 2 to 3 flights of stairs. Like,
yeah, I
you
wouldn't have
couldn't.
wanted to be an EMT.
Oh my God. And so it's just, and then they built the 3rd floor in the 1920s, but wasn't structurally sound. Like they didn't reinforce any of the rest of the building. It's amazing the building's still standing.
Right? And yet, here it is beautiful 100
is.
years later.
And they've got this open to the public, they've got the upstairs that they're still getting stuff in and open to the public. Museums are a great way to touch base with where your community was.
Right.
And with kids and stuff coming in and getting to see all this through like chamber nights or 4th of July, they get to really be excited about, God, is this really what it was like? Could they do something like this?
The first time I saw it was over the holidays, over the Christmas holidays, and it was, Williamsburg on the square. And so they had, the firemen were doing toasting marshmallows in the square. They have so much fun here all year long. They have the best 4th of July celebration. So whatever time of year you're coming to Williamsburg, please check out this museum and everything else Williamsburg has to offer.
And it's right downtown on the square. It's easy to find. You've got a coffee shop that's on the same as the bank, and you don't even see banks like this downtown hardly anymore. So, I mean, this is a historic downtown. They kept a lot of that old appeal from the early settler days before when they bought the land from the Indians. So, I mean, this is just a great small town. You're definitely missing out if you haven't been here.
Come see us.